let's take a look, because I think Andrew's going to get into, I don't know if he's going to get into the criminal aspect of it, but I do think that he's going to get into the civil liabilities in regards to Twitch with everything that Emmy said. He just put this out today, so this is good. No, this is a good follow-up to that, because now we're going to be getting into the legalese and what Emmy has available. What legal tools Emmy's going to have in her toolbox moving forward. So let's find out what we can potentially be expecting.
Emaru versus Mizkif. There are giant allegations, some of which could be criminal, as we investigate this streamer-on-streamer battle. Of course, Legal Mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney. This is the Fast Facts version of the latest in legal news. If you like the Fast Facts, if you like the format, make sure to like the video and leave a comment below. So let's jump right into it today with this, which is a highly requested topic with massive legal implications. Could be the streaming court case that I think might even go beyond the Ethan Klein versus Frogan and Denims and Casey Tron, although that's
yes. Oh, absolutely. What's going on with Emmy blows the H3 legal thing out of the fucking water. That is like this is what everybody, like, the thing with Ethan, Casey Tron, Frogan, and Denims, that's like against individuals. That's not necessarily against the platform itself. This, we could be, you know, depending on which areas Andrew's looking at. Is he looking at the events of Twitch Hunt, or if he's only focusing on Emmy and Mizkif? Regardless, like, what happened with Emmy and Mizkif is a lot more visceral than the whole thing with Ethan and the trinity of bitches. Because with them, it's, you know, three dumb bitches that love to, like, lick on Hassan's inverted micro penis, and they are busted for it. And so Ethan's going to take him to task and basically give him a spanking. With Emmy and Mizkif, it's a lot more serious. A great deal more serious. It's, you know, it's it's allegations of long-term abuse against Emerald. So yeah, people are going to be focusing on this big time. And cronies, thank you for the raid. Thank you very much, and welcome in, Kick Raiders. Welcome in. You had good timing. We are just getting into a fast facts in regards to what's happening with Emaru and Mizkif, and I guess what Emmy's legal recourses might be in Andrew's opinion.
Pretty crazy one as well. But this one is more personal in nature, and I think that's what makes it so interesting and so fascinating, albeit...
Oh, wait. Andrew's whipping out his PP chat. I have to get out of the way when Andrew's whipping out the PP.
in a unfortunate way. So let me start with some disclaimers, of course, in my PP, my PowerPoint. First of all, I do not know these people. One of the fortunate things about being outside of the streamer bubble, which I pretty much define as the American streamers that pretty much all hang out together, that are all doing house parties, they're going out meeting each other. There's advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantages, of course, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what people are.
Okay, I have to ask this. I'm sorry. Giggle fingers? What exactly do you think we're referring to when we're talking about Mizkif? What things do you think that Mizkif did that you don't consider he did anything wrong? I want to make sure that we're on the same page here. Because you're saying you don't think Mizkif actually did anything wrong. What's your context for that? In what context? No, no. I'm not gonna go rage. I'm trying to understand the point of view. I'm trying to understand someone else's point of view on this, and where where you think that he didn't do anything wrong, because I'm wondering about the context of what you're saying. No, stop, guys. I'm not like I'm not gonna rate. I'm not. I'm trying to have a legitimate conversation with someone. This is not me about to go rage mode on anybody. This is me was it? Was it? Okay. If my tone was threatening, I am so sorry. If my tone was threatening, I am so very sorry. I did not intend to. I no. Oh my God. If I sounded pissed, I am so very sorry. I'm not. I'm not. Believe I'm not even in the slightest. I'm so sorry if I came across that way. It's just the VC may have just picked it up incorrectly. I'm not angry in any way. This whole claim sounded to me like he thought he was getting to point and was wrong asking for consent. Okay, giggle fingers? No. No. I'm sorry, no. You were saying that you're saying that it sounded to you like he thought he was getting to a point of sexual interaction. In Emmy's own words, she was crying. Now what her reasons for crying were, I'm not sure. But Emmy in her view in on her stream said that she was upset and crying, and Mizkif was holding her, and while she was still crying, he first started to kiss her on the face. Now, whether or not she means her forehead, her cheek, or her lips, not sure. But while Emmy was still clearly upset and crying in her own words, he started to kiss her and then climbed on top of her and stuck his hand down her pants while she was still clearly upset and crying. Yeah. Okay, so Giggle Fingers, that is fair. That is a fair statement. None of us were there. The problem is, not the problem, but the crux of this is, and I've heard other people making the same argument that you have had, is, we none of us were there, and no, we shouldn't just, especially in terms of criminality, we shouldn't just believe one party over another out of hand. Well, no, Tickle Fingers. There you're a little bit incorrect. She didn't say no, she screamed. That's a big difference. There's a big difference there. With the way Annie related the story, the way Annie described it in her story, was not that she simply said no and he backed off. She said that when he did that, she screamed and he jumped off of her like a cat, like a spooked cat. So that's not simply him making an advancement and she said no and he said okay and backed off. It's no. I'm sorry, no, that argument unfortunately does not work. And the other point of note is you have to look at, the history of these two individuals. Emaru has always been very genuine in how she's presented herself, where Mizkif has not. Mizkif has actually backed up. There's been talk about how he backed up, like, what was it? No, I can't remember it exactly. And that's okay. Thanks. So they both have histories, and and this is like recorded histories, and Emmy's history backs up what she said more than what Mizkif is trying to say. And in fact, Mizkif actually admitted to acting violently in his statement where he said, well, Emmy threw clothes and plushies at me and I punched holes in walls. Like even Mizkif's own words detailed how he was incredibly violent with and around Emera. And there's plenty of recorded video footage that people are unearthing in droves right now, showing a history of physical and psychological abuse. And so that's why, it's that is one reason why people are more inclined to believe Emaru's telling of events versus Mizkif's. Because Emaru not only has a history of being genuine, but there's also plenty of evidence in the past that has been resurfacing to substantiate her claims of being genuine. Whereas with Mizkif, it's the exact opposite. So, you're focusing on that one claim. Well, again, like we don't know. You are right. We don't know. None of us are there. But again, with the history of the two individuals in question, I am inclined to believe that Emaru is telling the truth. Now, you'll notice at no point when we've been discussing this have I said that Miss Kid should be in jail right now. I have not said that. I've been horrified by the story that Emaru told in regards to what she is claiming that Mizkif did. I was horrified about that. But again, it's there is an undoubtable element with he said she said. I do not doubt that for a moment. I'm not arguing that part. I'm not. But I am more inclined to believe that Emaru's breakdown of the event in question is largely correct and is probably largely factual. Anyway, yes. So moving on. Anyway, I saw you say that figures, and I wanted to just talk with you about it. I am like really sorry if initially I came off sounding like I was really pissed. I wasn't. I'm so sorry if it sounded that way. Sometimes no, Giga Figures is fine. This is what we do. But I am sorry. Sometimes the VC doesn't pick up my inflections or my intonations quite properly. So if it sounded like I was like pissed off initially, I'm so sorry. I wasn't. At no point was like pissed off that you said that. I wanted to actually just engage. I wanted to engage in discussion and discourse with you, and we did. And that's one of the things I love doing on stream. So anyway, let us continue.
Doing, you're not listening to the latest tips and tricks, etc. But at the same time, right, and this is the important point here, you're removed from the drama and you're protected from it. I would not want to be at one of these alleged parties or events, etc., and have seen these things going down. That's just a giant liability. And to me, hearing what these things going down is a great example of why you should not date people that are effectively your coworkers. And in he's
100%. Yes. That is a rule to live by. If you do not already know about this rule or do not already live by this rule, don't date your coworkers. As the expression goes, it's a crass expression, but it checks out. Don't shit where you eat. It is a crass expression, but it is very fitting. Do not date, and especially do not fuck anyone that you work with, because it will only end badly for you. And Angela is dead on the money with that. Never date and never fuck a coworker. As her.
Case, we're going to deal with what can be intercompany drama, intercompany issues here. And one other thing that kind of popped out to me as a disclaimer is that streamers are kind of weird in the way that they operate, in the way that they manage their relationships, and the way that they deal with their interpersonal stuff. Now, I know that Emaru and others have said, hey, this isn't stuff they would bring up online. Private life should be private. And I very much agree with that. But airing out all of your dirty laundry of your relationship live for millions to see is just not really the way to go. And I think looking at this, for all those that are wondering, hey, I want to become a streamer, you might want to think again, because there are various tolls, whether it's on your personal life, as you see here, relationships, mental health. There's a lot of things. Stress, I can speak to that.
Well, okay. The whole, with what happened to Emmy is not explicit to every stream. Emmy, unfortunately, made a bad choice by getting involved with basically someone that she worked with. She got involved in a relationship with someone that was a coworker, essentially, that was part of the same business that she was in terms of like OTK and like and streaming together. I don't think it's fair to say that as a general rule, like that's true for all streamers. It's not true for me. I know it's not true for me, and I know it's not true for a lot of streamers. So I think Andrew is being a little harsh when he said, if you're thinking about being a streamer, don't do it because you've got, can it cause a mental toll? Yeah, sure. No more than any other job and no more than just living life. So I feel it's a little what Andrew's saying about like, oh, don't be a streamer. It can be mentally draining on you and et cetera, et cetera. I think that's a little bit unfair.
Very, very stressed out lately because it's a lot of pressure mentally, right? Not physically. It's not construction, right? It's not the hardest job physically ever. No, but there's a lot of mental pressure. There's a lot of social pressure, and that is very, very much true. But I will say one other thing as a disclaimer. I am going to focus on the law as always and focus on the, legal issues here at hand. But as a non-legal observer, taking off my handsome lawyer hat for a second, right? Moodang's wearing the hat right now. But we're taking off the hat.
By the way, I should point this out. Wildly off topic. I know you're shocked. Moodang back here? You see Moodang back here behind Andrew? I have a confession. When Andrew first started talking about Moodang, I did not realize it was only this right here that was Moodang. I thought that because you see how the lamp kind of gets cut off? I did not realize this was a lamp at first, and I thought this was Moodang's body. And I thought this thing was like a giant, like someone in his chat actually called Moodang a lizard. And Ansem got like really pissed about it. Well, pretend pissed. And I'm thinking, why is he getting so upset? I mean, you've got the lizard head there, and then this giant body. And then at what point Andrew turned around and took Moodang off the lamp, and I realized, oh, that's a lamp. That's not the body. So for a while, I thought that this entire thing here was Moodang and not just this, like extended back because it's baby hippo. So, side tangent, but I just want to point that out, that for a long time, I thought that the entire thing was Moodang and not just the blushie at the top. Moodang is a pygmy hippo is it Taiwan? Is Moodang in Taiwan? I can't recall exactly, but Moodang is like is in China. Okay, it's in China. Moodang is a pygmy hippo baby that is adorable. Oh, Herzui's in Thailand. Okay, I thought it was in Thailand. Yeah, it's a baby, and I believe it's a pygmy hippo. Not just a baby hippo, but I believe it's a baby pygmy hippo. It got a lot of popularity because Moodang was so cute and adorable. And Andrew loves Moodang, and that's why he's got a plushie of her behind him on the lamp.
We're taking off that. And we're, as just a human being who watched this, I do not find Mizkif to be very credible. His story is not...
Oh my God. You're absolutely right. War God, you're right. I am sorry. I think I was saying Taiwan when it should have been Thailand. I think you are, War God, you're absolutely correct. Thank you. I mixed up my T's and I said Taiwan instead of Thailand. My apologies. Yes, I misspoke there.
And Mizkif to be very credible. his story is not looking good. It is at a disadvantage. Now, I cannot say with certainty, absent proof in court or other hard evidence, who is guilty, who is not guilty, etc. But all of the factors right now favor Emiru. Emmy looks much more credible. Her presentation was much more credible. She seemed genuinely distraught versus Mizkif, who really only seemed distraught at the fact that this is going to ruin his career. He did not seem genuinely troubled by this.
Well, not only that, Emiru brought the receipts. That's a big thing that I'm surprised Andrew isn't bringing up, is that Emmy brought receipts in her stream, and not to mention the glorious internet autists have been digging up video after video after video after video, showcasing how Mizkif was his behavior throughout their time together. There was one clip in particular where Emmy was streaming. I think this was the infamous one where he was getting pissed off about the fact that she had double the viewership and he was crashing out over her tanking in World of Warcraft when he wanted to, and he was crashing out about how people were saying that Emmy was a better player than him. There's video footage of Emmy playing and literally jumping. I can't do it justice with my model, but he's literally like punching her door. You can hear him in this video clip. Asmund watched it. There's multiple clips where Mizkif is punching the door to her streaming room, and she's jumping like she has been shot. Like every time. You hear the punch and you see her jump in her chair, and you could see she's barely keeping it together while he is literally punching her door. And then later in the clip, she actually says, "Hang on, guys, I gotta be right back." Gets up, he goes to check on something, and whatever it is upset her so much, she comes back and is just like, "I've gotta just end things. I've gotta stop." And I think ended her stream, or at least ended the game. And that's one example. That's one example of Mizkif terrorizing Emmy on stream, where there's videographic evidence. That's one thing. The internet autists are digging up all sorts of footage from past streams that showcase Mizkif's mistreatment of Emiru.
On a deep sense. Both of them need to be speaking to lawyers. I do think Emmy is doing that. I'm not sure about
Emmy
Mizkif,
is big time.
I'm sure he's thinking about it now. If he's hatching all these crazy plans, like using rabbits as blackmail material, I'm sure he's spoken to a lawyer at some point. I don't think a lawyer review.
I honestly would not be surprised that Mizkif has not spoken to a lawyer yet. The way he has talked, the way he has behaved since all of this came about doesn't read to me like someone that's been in consultation with a lawyer and, working under the guidance of a lawyer. Because if you remember in his streams, he was talking about the allegations about, hitting Emmy with a phone and giving her a black eye. And he was actually showing, look, this is what I did. And not what Emmy was saying. No lawyer would have basically said, no lawyer would have been happy with him doing that. Any lawyer worth their salt would have said, shut the fuck up. We'll prepare a statement for you that you can read on stream, but don't fucking talk about it. So I don't think Mizkif, at least from what I've seen in his streams, so far, since all this came out, I don't think he talked to a lawyer. Emmy did, because she actually says in her stream where she talked about all this, she said, I've talked with my lawyer about this, and they gave me the okay to talk about this stuff on stream. That's why she had her notes. She probably sat down with her lawyers. They went over it all, and they said, okay, you can talk about this, and she probably wrote down everything, and made sure that and probably gave it to them for approval that it would be smart to do on stream. So without a doubt, Emmy has been in constant contact with her lawyers on this. I have serious doubts Mizkif has even talked to a lawyer yet. I have very serious doubts. He is not behaving like someone who has spoken to a lawyer yet.
his statement. I think he wrote down the statement and he just read it. If I was a lawyer and I was, advising him, I would not tell him to say the things he said. I would tell him to, keep that private and bring it up in court. But they decided to say it. And by saying it, there's pretty much mutual defamation going on.
Sorry, I'm pausing a hell of a lot on this one. I'm so sorry. And Leo, to your point, Annie's had a lawyer. She has already had a lawyer before the events of TwitchCon. It's just since the events of TwitchCon, they've been going in overdrive. The lawyers have been working in overdrive since TwitchCon. So I'm pretty sure Annie has always had a lawyer. She's probably had a lawyer back from when she was with OTK. It's just now they are working like crazy because they have so many different cases that they're probably working on. They've got the whole TwitchCon case to work on, and now they're going with the Mizkif thing. So they've always been there. It's just now you're hearing about them.
Decided to say it. And by saying it, there's pretty much mutual defamation going on. Now, I'm saying mutual defamation because somebody is telling the truth and somebody is not telling the truth, or perhaps both parties may be fabricating certain periods. Once again, I'm taking a neutral stance. I have a bias based on my observations. I think Emmy is the more credible one so far. But
and she has
from
receipts.
A neutral, taking out those non-legal observations, the defamation is there somewhere. Somebody is defaming somebody, so they need to speak to lawyers and get on top of that. So let's talk about Emmy first. I watched all of these videos. I sat today and watched all 3 hours of videos, including Asmongold's reaction to them. Shout out to the Roach King. I did think her presentation, once again, was very credible, and she also brought some receipts. She had the text messages, which was much more credible than the evidence that was brought by Mizkif, showing some random video.
Yeah. Mizkif's evidence was literally, trust me, bro. That was his evidence. His evidence was literally nothing more than, trust me, bro. This is true. And that's it. Emmy actually brought up multiple documentation on stream. She did it.
Of what could be any single rabbit's enclosure, or not even a rabbit, it could be another animal. Who knows? There was no rabbit in the actual video. That is very questionable. And it certainly does not, quote unquote, prove anything. And proving stuff online and social media really doesn't get you any points if you get hit with a restraining order, if you get with criminal, certain criminal sanctions, criminal penalties might happen there, or civil liability. That's not going to protect you. So I think she did a good job of presenting it. I know it was troubling. I know she was sick, but overall presentation by Emmy was good. So what are the main allegations in the criminal stuff and civil stuff I focused on? First, there's blackmail and coercion. So that is the aspect where if you go and speak out about a relationship, which is at the key here, and say bad things, etc., I am going to drop the rabbits, and we're going to get into the rabbits when we get into Mizkif, but I'm going to coerce you into not speaking. This is a problem for several reasons. One of which, once again, is these people were coworkers working at the same, under the same umbrella. There's a lot of issues when you're trying to coerce and blackmail a coworker. This can become a broader workplace issue. We know OSHA, right, guys? Real easy to submit that OSHA report. Not looking good on that, especially in Texas, under Texas law. There's also under Texas law, assault family violence. Now, understand this is domestic assault in Texas. That's how they brand it. And remember, assault is not actually striking somebody. It's actually just causing fear of imminent harm. So yes, what Andrew's saying is absolutely correct. Is assault is placing someone, like the legal definitions for the most part is the definition of assault is placing someone in fear of receiving a battery. That is, generally speaking, the legal definition of assault. But state by state, it can be slightly different. I do believe that, yes, battery is a, not even physical violence, and Leo, battery is non-consensual physical contact. Excuse me. Battery is non-consensual physical contact. It could be a violent strike, or it could just be literally touching someone when they don't wish to be touched. That is the legal that is, broadly speaking, the legal definition of battery. Assault, by and large, the legal definition is placing someone in
fear or in a state of apprehension that they are about to receive a battery. However, some states, and I do not know about Texas, so Texas, the definitions may be the standard that I just mentioned, but some states do classify assault in, definitionally speaking, they kind of lump it in with battery, i.e. assault and battery. I believe that there is I can't remember if it was Florida or California, where there was a whole question about sexual assault or sexual battery, and I think it may have been California that we were looking at this, where the California state law actually has the definition of being a sexual assault and battery, so they can combine them. So it's like, broad speaking, yes, the way we just defined assault and battery, way we define assault, we define battery, broad stroking and legal definitions, correct, but it can vary state to state for their specific legal definitions. I have no idea if Texas state law classifies battery as the unlawful physical contact with another and assault as placing an individual in fear of or apprehension of receiving a battery. I do not know. I don't know.
By punching holes in the wall and by doing other acts of violence that could be construed as assault family violence. Once again, you don't need to be married for that. You can be a roommate, a boyfriend, etc. in Texas.
I'm sorry. And Leo, depends on the state. Assault and battery do not necessarily go hand in hand like breaking and entering. It's but again, state dependent. For many states, assault and battery are specifically divided and separated and do not necessarily go hand in hand. If someone like punches out another individual, that person is going to be charged for battery. They're not going to be charged for assault and battery. They will only be charged with battery. So again, state dependent, but typically speaking, they don't go hand in hand together for a crime like breaking and entering. Not necessarily.
For that, you can be a roommate, a boyfriend, etc. in Texas. That can fly. Now, there could also be sexual assault, maybe. Now, I'm very careful about this because we are, of course, in a, I don't want to say post-Me Too era, but I want to be very, very, very clear. We have at this point, a he said, she said story. Very difficult to prove those and very difficult to litigate those. Also based on the factors, it seemed like, there was consent at one point, which was withdrawn. Okay, you let him kiss you and then he jumped on top of you, said no, he got off. So there's some...
And that's no. That's not quite correct. The way Emmy described it is he was holding her while she was crying. He started kissing her face, but she was still crying and she didn't stop him because she was still upset. And then he crawled on top of her, shoved his hand down her pants. She screamed. She actually said that she screamed, and then he leapt off of her. So it's Andrew's characterization is not quite correct as Emmy has described it.
Okay, you let him kiss you and then he jumped on top of you, said no, he got off. So there's some potential. There could it be
that and that is incorrect because in Emmy's own words, she said she screamed when he did that, and then he, as she described it, jumped off of her like a cat. So yeah. Now this is like, do I think that there will be criminal charges levied against Mizkif for sexual assault? No, I do not, because too much time has passed. It is literally only he said, she said, and it's like the fact that years have gone by, there's no evidence, there was no police report made at the time. No, I don't think Mizkif is going to be arrested and charged with sexual assault because of those reasons. It is what it is. Emaru would have a next to an impossible task of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that Mizkif committed the crime of sexual assault against her. Did she? She won't be. She will not be able to do it. Jeff, it's not a question of statute of limitations. That's not what I was referencing. It's not an issue of statute of limitations. It's so much time has passed, and at the time that it happened, there was no police report involved. There's no evidence of any sort to substantiate Emru's statements. So she would not be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in a criminal court of law that this occurred, because it is literally just he said, she said. She would not be able to prove it, unfortunately.
Essay? Yes, it could be. Could a court look at that? Once again, I'm taking a very neutral legal perspective. Could a court look at that and say that's not essay? Also possible, right? So both of those scenarios, very, very possible there, but she could still try. She could still try to bring that claim. And I think that's the trouble for Mizkif, is that whether or not this is something that would ultimately be adjudicated guilty, being on trial for sexual assault does not look good for your career. There's also intentional infliction of emotional distress. It definitely seems on a civil side like is a clear thing here. He was trying to afflict her with emotional distress. She seems distraught. She seems to have damages. She seems to have mental suffering and mental health from that, which is a very real thing.
Yes.
And I think she could bring that claim. So these allegations, once again, they are very serious, but I want to stress this, and this is the point which I want to get to Emmy if she's listening to this. Emmy, you need to make sure you're taking official action. Now, I know you're getting a restraining order, and that's good. A restraining order is a good first step. But understand, your restraining order may be limited to just his physical presence. Okay, he physically can't come near you. Now, some courts are willing to issue a digital restraining order saying he can't talk about you online. That's a little bit more problematic, maybe not constitutional. Some courts will do it, some won't, might be overthrown. But what really should happen is a police report here of some kind, maybe EEOC, OSHA. Once again, they were working together. This could be a situation in which this was bleeding over.
A police report, unfortunately, I don't think is going to be better. Is not going to help her all that much right now, unfortunately. Because while there's no statute of limitations, filing a police report right now for the event that occurred it'd be lip service. It kind of would be sort of like lip service alone. The police would take the report. Maybe they would interview Mizkif. Unless Mizkif gets interviewed by the police and flat out admits to committing sexual assault, nothing's really going to come about it. Yeah, it'd be nice to have it on paper, I don't disagree with that. In a civil proceeding, I don't know how it would benefit her right now. I don't know how having a police report filed 2 years later would be beneficial to her on the civil front. Maybe it would. Maybe it would. I have a feeling that if a civil case is brought, I have a feeling Mizkif's lawyers might seek to have the police report registered as inadmissible. Or have it stricken, because they will lay out the same reasons that I did, where it was, it was the event in question supposedly happened like 2 years ago, and there's no evidence to substantiate. It is he said, she said. There's no criminal filings for it. So realistically, I don't know. I don't think the police report would be beneficial to any civil case in this respect, because chances are the Mizkif's lawyers would probably seek to have it stricken from the case as evidentiary purposes to begin with. Now, as far as an OSHA complaint, that would be a stretch. That would be a significant stretch. It's certainly possible. Like, nothing's to say that they can't try. It wouldn't cost them anything to at least make the inquiry if an OSHA complaint is viable, chances are it's not. In terms of like when it comes to streaming, no. Chances are she won't be able to file an OSHA complaint. Now, I do remember Andrew saying, like, with what happened to her at TwitchCon, that is certainly something where she can look at filing an OSHA complaint with what happened at TwitchCon. But that's different. With Mizkif, I don't think she'd be. I realistically don't see an OSHA complaint working in that respect. And E4 Mafia, thank you for the tier 1 3 months in advance. Thank you so much. Well, Andrea, it's possible it right? I have my doubts, but again, there's nothing that says she couldn't act, that her and her lawyers could not make the inquiry and just contact OSHA and make an inquiry about filing a complaint in this respect. Nothing says she can't try.
To her work. And once again, what was key to her testimony, what was key to her talking about, not testimony yet, but her statements. Her statements were, I was streaming this. I was playing a tank in WoW, or I was streaming this game, and he was jealous and made me stop. That's a workplace issue. That's saying, hey, look, they're dating. They were coworkers, right? Working under the same umbrella legally. There you go. I mean, once again.
Yeah, and here's the problem is, yes, they were coworkers. Yes, they were working under the same umbrella, but it occurred in their living space. There, I think, is where I think in terms of an OSHA complaint is it could get very sticky. Is that, yeah, like like they worked in the home, but it is also the home where they live. So I'm not saying it's like absolutely an OSHA complaint would work or no, it would not work, but it would be an incredibly sticky situation that I don't know if OSHA would be able to do anything. And bear in mind, like, this is not something regarding OTK, because what Andrew was talking about here is when they were streaming from home. It's well, scary guy. I think it does. It does, but given the circumstances where they are both streamers and they are in a dating relationship, you're getting that bleed over where at what point is one separate from the other? And that's why I was saying it can get very sticky because they are coworkers, they work from home, but they also were dating at the time. And it just, I don't know. I don't know if OSHA will be able to do anything or if those lines are so blurred that they're just like, there's nothing we can do here because of the overarching situation. I don't know.
Seems problematic. A reason why you don't date your coworkers. These sort of things will happen with any relationship that's botched. And let me just mention that the majority of relationships fail. So once you factor in that the majority of relationships, just dating casually, are going to fail. You are gambling on a game that you're going to lose. It's a stupid thing to do. Now, listen, have people done stupid things? Yes. Have people dated coworkers in the past? Yes. Look, I'm no saint over here saying it doesn't happen. But what I'm saying is it's a bad idea. It's a very bad idea. Beyond that, you could also do a civil lawsuit. And that's the thing I think would be most fruitful. Yeah. Now, defamation might be difficult because you have to expose everything. And that's why I don't push defamation right away. I don't think Emmy should jump to defamation. I think she should start with something else like filing a police report, a workplace claim, or IIED, intentional infliction of emotional distress. With that, you're going to be able to go after Mizkif. You're going to be able to get his messages, text messages, etc., depose people that talk to him. I think that would be a smarter move than perhaps going after defamation, but it's up to her and her lawyers and what they decide. Now, let's talk about Mizkif over here and this lovely fellow. I found that what he did was soulless and really just reading off a statement that obviously was prepared. He admitted that, but was not screened, filtered, or really considered harshly.
Yes, because Emmy also was reading from prepared statements. Like this needs to be clear. Emmy, when Emmy presented her case on stream, she was also reading from prepared statements that she went over with her lawyers on. Like, she consulted with her lawyers on this prepared statement. But with Emmy's, it was heartfelt and it felt genuine. And Mizkif was just not. Like, Mizkif's statement did not feel like, that's what I was saying. It did not feel like he cleared it through a lawyer first. He just wrote something down so he'd have a script to follow and just read it and dumpstered himself, basically, by doing so.
A plushie or a blanket is not
Here we
really
go.
considered harshly. Throwing a plushie or a blanket is not going to get a girl hit with a assault charge or a battery charge. I'm sorry. That's not going to come to counter punching a wall, right? Those are not equivalent things. And perhaps I'm a little bit more hardened by this, growing up in South Florida, having one or two sandals thrown at me at some point, the chancleta. But that said, a plushie is not going to be that critical hit that takes you out. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I don't know how soft you are, or how much soy you've had for dinner, but that is not going to get a police officer in Texas to go slap some cuffs on Emmy and drag her to the police station. That's not going to happen. And the fact that he thought his big bullet, his silver bullet, was those rabbits, is a joke. Now, animal cruelty is a crime. And so the thing he messed up on is he's accused her of a crime. So if she did not do that, that is clear defamation. So Emmy now has a claim, in addition to the IAD, a clear defamation case, saying, hey, you are now accusing me of a crime, animal cruelty, right? Killing the rabbits, right? That is not okay. And here's my thing for Mizkif. Mizkif, bro, if you are so dead set on saying the rabbits are a problem, why didn't you report it to animal control or the local, whatever the local authority is that oversees animal safety and health in your region, right? We talked about Hassan, Collargate. We all know about Collargate, and and I helped out on Twitter, on X. I put out the information to contact the local animal services. So why didn't you contact animal services? If it's such a big deal, bro, where's the report to animal services? Let's see it. Show me the Carfax. Oh, you didn't do that. You just want to talk about it for internet clout. You just want to get people on your side. You want to bring up, your mental health as a defense, which isn't a joke. Mental health is a very serious thing, and people using it as a shield really undermines those that have legitimate mental health conditions. And it seems he may have.
Well, giggle fingers. Here's the thing about with rabbits. Pet rabbits are very fragile creatures. Okay, rabbits can die literally from fear. Okay, you could have a bad thunderstorm and have a lightning strike not too far away where the thunder is so loud it shakes your entire house. That literally is enough that it could literally scare a rabbit to death. It could give a rabbit a heart attack. So Mizkif was trying to say that, she, you can tell that she took horrible care of the rabbits because they died. And it's like, motherfucker. Rabbits can die from about 1,000 different things that seem like to the untrained eye are minimal as fuck and shouldn't do anything, but to a rabbit are incredibly lethal. They get mites commonly. Any person that has ever owned or worked with rabbits before knows they can get mites. They can, they mess up their cages within after you clean their cages, within 5 seconds, the rabbits are pissing and shitting all over it and messing up the cage. And 5 seconds later, this is just what it is like to have rabbits. And he showed a cage that was dirty, and it's like, okay, and so you're showing a dirty cage, no evidence that it's Annie's cage or Annie's rabbit's cage, and B, you're making the claim. I think he made the claim the cage was looking like that for weeks or something, and he made the statement his cleaning staff actually cleaned it up.
Mizkif sounds as weak as his namesake on Futurama.
But he made the statement that he actually had his cleaning people clean up the cage because they felt bad for the rabbits or something. I forget exactly what. That's all he's been saying, and it's him trying to basically take normal rabbit care, how rabbits normally are, and blowing it way out of proportion. And Dingle figures, actually, I don't even think I saw what you said. Even if he's right and it's neglect, it's admitting he did intervene. Yeah, well, and that's what Andrew was just saying. That's what Andrew was just saying, is that if he's acting so righteous and, oh my God, and he was, mistreating these animals and causing their death, why didn't you intervene? Why didn't you call animal control? Why didn't you contact the local SPCA and have them come and take the rabbits away? That's what Andrew said.
A shield really undermines those that have legitimate mental health conditions. And it seems he may have even inflicted Emmy with a mental health condition, which would strengthen her IIED claim. So he really hasn't reported it. And beyond that, if it was under his roof, he might also be liable for it. So that is not really a defense. So if you're keeping animals on your premise and they are abused, you might be liable for that. If you're the co-tenant at an apartment or a house and you are jointly leasing that or jointly renting that, you're liable for that. It's under your roof. It's happening there. So that is not the legal bombshell he thinks it is. Now, if Emmy was lying about everything she said, which once again, I'm not saying she is, I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. If she was lying, then there would be a clear defamation case. Then he could clearly bring a defamation case. However, I don't think he wants all of the messages, text messages, emails, etc., to be obtained.
Hi, DSD. Hi, Raiders. Welcome in. Welcome in, Raiders. You caught us right in the middle or towards the end of Fast Facts regarding the Annie and Mizkif situation. How was your stream? Do you have a lovely stream? Welcome in. You can help us finish off this legal mindset Fast Facts, and then we'll be jumping into something else afterwards. So please join us, won't you?
Through subpoena if he files defamation. And I think this strategy of leaking information not only could constitute blackmail, but it's idiotic, it's childish, and once again, it's not official. None of this is actually official. It's just meant to try to destroy her character, destroy her reputation, which once again would just add to her damages if she ever tries to sue you, even for something like IIED. In fact, leaking information to damage someone's reputation, especially very personal information.
Oh my God! Oh my God, another one, Canito! I Canito! Oh my God. Jesus, I'm getting rated a lot today. Hi! Welcome in, Canito. Welcome in, Raiders. Welcome in. Join us.
Yeah, that very much could be considered intentional infliction of emotional distress. And so what I'm thinking with Mizkif and his absolute mockery of a counter is that you should be very concerned and lawyer up. And at this point, Emmy has a procedural, social, and evidentiary advantage based on what we've seen so far. Mizkif definitely needs a legal counter or he's in trouble. So at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if
Mizkif! Holy crap, I'm getting gangbanged. Okay. Oh my God! What? Okay, was that supposed to be like Mizkif? Garrett, were you basically saying this is Mizkif right now, perhaps? Oh my God! Yeah, I'll take you out through. Yeah, that's okay. That's all for the double roquet for the raid. Yeah, also highly accurate. Yes. God, why do I have a feeling that Tangy is going to get used a lot? Oh God, that Tangy stage. I didn't even know that Tangy existed. Oh God, that's going to get used a lot, isn't it? Fuck me. But yeah, anyway, let's continue. I was going to say, Mizkif needs to get legal. Mizkif needs to fucking lawyer up. He's not lawyered up, and for the love of all that is holy, he needs to lawyer the fuck up.
saw Mizkif throw a lawsuit out there as a last-ditch gambit, as something, even Emmy said, a slap lawsuit, etc. Throw out some sort of lawsuit, which may be dismissed as it's filed, but it still would be a measure to try to stop this or cut back on this. We'll see what happens with that. A restraining order by itself is not going to be enough to end this dispute, and is not going to be enough to put this to bed. There needs to be some other sort of action that's taken against whoever is responsible, once again being fair and neutral, likely Mizkif, right? But we don't know right now.
Yep.
There needs to be some sort of action officially taken with the police, EOC, OSHA, civil lawsuit, something to close the chapter on this and to find out what exactly was going on and to get all those details out there. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Who do you think is in the right on this one? I know it's probably people are thinking Emmy based on most of the polls, but let me know in the comments below and I'll catch you on.
It's not just based on the polls. I want to point that out. It's not based simply on the polls. It's not based upon the fact that Emmy, just by sheer token, is more believable, either because she's a girl or because she has presented herself as far more genuine. It's beyond even that. It's the fact that she brought the receipts and that other people have brought a fuck ton of receipts along with them. There is videographic and photographic evidence that substantiates Emmy in every respect and not Mizkif. And I think that's why, if this goes to court, I think that is why Emmy will win the case. Is the facts and the evidence are on her side. That's basically it. She has the facts. She has the evidence. She's going to win if it goes to court. And if it does go to court, discovery is going to be a real bitch.